all these things are critical to be reviewed by this staff and help make Air County a wonderful place to live. So those gentlemen here are today with us. I want to thank you for the tour, and appreciate everything you do. Thank you very much.
You might mention that 50% of what they do is county work. That
There you
for
go.
our.
I don't have to mention it now.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Weaver.
Oh, real quick, let me cover this. I was out at the Union Mills Homestead for their annual meeting. I'm a history nerd, so I absolutely love being out there for all those history nerds. They talked about everything they've been doing, and I think they've generated over $400,000 in grant money to help maintain our history here in Carroll County. So I want to thank all those people at Union Mills, and as I move into a future civil service responsibility, I hope to help them in any way I can in that capacity. So thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioner Weaver.
Okay, I know it's a day late, but yesterday was National Farmers Day, and I just have a conversation with your children or whatever. Where'd their last meal come from? What was it made from? See if they can answer those questions. What were the ingredients in it? Where did they come from? And sorry, those two over there we don't pay attention to on this one.
Everyone's in a good mood this morning.
Anyway, that one, and then Commissioner Boucher and I on Tuesday night attended the Carroll County Farm Bureau annual banquet and business meeting, which is always interesting.
There was food there, so I was definitely there.
And they serve shrimp.
Yes.
I mean, how many shrimp have you seen raised in Carroll County?
Not
But
many.
anyway, anyhow.
They dip them out of the stream out there in the valley.
Oh, okay. And
Pleasant Valley.
they always do a great job out there, by the way, even though Commissioner Wance wasn't part of it this year, but they do a great job in food prep. So, and let's see, Saturday I was part of Eagle Scout Court of Honor for Dante Tapia Pujals in Troop 380 at Wesley United Methodist Church. And very outstanding young man. I always do say that, he should be in the paper, recognized for what he's done. And I've even handed to the newspapers the programs, never gets in the paper. If he'd rob a bank, he'd be on the front page. But he does everything right and can't get into the paper for being an Eagle Scout. But I'm sure I've been fighting this battle for years. It's not going to change here in the near future. And one last thing, this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I want to just make us aware of that. My wife went through this last year and has had a remarkable recovery, and I can't say enough about LifeBridge and what they were doing. Still, they have a program now for nutrition and fitness, and she's participating in. Has made a huge difference, and I just want to mention, if you do what they tell you and follow through, there's a great deal of success with this, and I just want to mention it. I don't think we've mentioned it here this month yet, but wore my tie today with that awareness tie, so I'm finished.
Lord be with your family.
Okay, so Commissioner Wance.
Okay, good morning. Good meeting, joint meeting 2 days ago with ESAC.
Yeah.
Was it 2 days already? As we continue to move forward with the combination system, the creation of that. So doing some really good steps. Did you check that off your list? Nicely
Checked
done.
it off.
Okay. Well, you won't check this off. Last week I had the opportunity to spend my last event with the board of directors at MACO, and it was the fall retreat. It gives you a little bit of a prelude of what's coming in the General Assembly, which the outlook is not much. It's going to be crazy as always. But a guy named Justin Reedy was there and spoke to us. I think everybody knows who that is. And then Jason Buckle also spoke, the two minority whips in the House and Senate, sorry. So we got a good prelude of that. Most of the talk right now is about cannabis and the fact that it's on our ballots. And it's a one-sentence question. Do you agree with or not legalizing cannabis, or whatever the wording is? So everybody thinks that, well, first of all, about it, they're thinking it's going to pass with about a 75% passing rate. And then everybody's just assuming that as of January 1st, everybody's going to be walking around with cannabis. That's not going to be the case. It's going to probably take a year or two, or in some instances, there's been talk about a 3, to get to where we can actually see legalized cannabis in this state. There are a lot of hoops to jump through, and there are a lot of challenges that are ahead when it comes to that. So it's not going to be just as easy as that. So we had two good sessions on recreational cannabis and what that means to the state. Everybody also thinks that it's going to be a huge tax monies coming in. Remember the casino thing? All the money was going to education. Anybody remember what happened with that? I do. Nothing. And that's pretty much what the forecast is for cannabis. Everybody think it's going to save us. But listening to all the experts for those 2 days was remarkable. And I'm going to be sharing that with Commissioner Rothstein so that he has a little bit of a heads up as we move forward. There's going to be a lot of battles, and it's going to be interesting. So beyond that, there was a couple sessions on what's next for the environmental priorities here in the state. That's another interesting topic where the esteemed leaders in our General Assembly decided that by 2035 everything's going to be electric, which is absurd, and everybody knows that. And now they're coming up with this idea that where do all the batteries go, and where do they store them? Well, everybody loves to ride around, some people like to ride around their electric cars. That's one of the challenges. Number 2 is there's not enough places to charge them. So the Mako retreat was full of challenges that lie ahead, and it's not just as easy as what people think it is when the goofiness of Annapolis is thrown upon us. And the forecast is that's going to continue. So a lot of uncertainty in Annapolis right now, especially with the gubernatorial race. And it was a good packed 2 days of information. And again, I've said it many times, I've been honored to serve Carol on the Maryland Association of Counties Board. And it's incredible what Mako does for the elected leadership across the state. And what's even more incredible is the fact that I can sit beside people with different letters beside their name, and we all get along, and we all make good decisions. Wouldn't that be great for the state and the country? So I give a huge shout out and a huge amount of appreciation to Mako, and I know that the next board, under the leadership of Commissioner Rothstein, will continue to be involved as heavily as you can down there. Other than that, it's raining today. It's supposed to be a nice weekend, but let's stay safe out there. Leaves coming down on the roads means an uptick in auto accidents. Last week we had 5 of them up on Route 97. 2 of them were pretty serious. I had a lady behind me yesterday on little old Tyrone Road that if she could have been connected to my bumper, I think she probably was. People just need to slow down. I'm not sure where she was going in such a hurry in a minivan, but come on, people. As a public safety guy, it's absurd to me what's going on. So maybe you should try leaving a little earlier. I don't know. Anyway, let's stay safe on the road, especially as it gets darker. Is the crazy time change happening again? They're not doing it.
No, they're doing
it. Are they doing it? Okay. Because there was talk that they weren't going to do it.
Right.
That Save Sunshine bill or whatever it was. Okay, well.
That'll knock our sleep patterns off.
Yeah, so whatever. So anyway, stay safe out there. Were you going to say something to me, Weaver? You were looking at me. Weaver. Were you going to say something to me? You were going.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay.
He was agreeing with you.
All right, other than that, that's all I got.
Okay,
That's
Commissioner Frazier.
All right. I have to say, tagging on what Commissioner Wance says about the electric vehicles coming, if you can get a business going about recycling the batteries that the electric cars are going to use, you're going to make a lot of money in the near future because everyone's going in that direction. I don't know what they're doing with the batteries when they can't use them anymore. They only take so many charges. How they're recycling them. That would be a booming business. I'm sitting around trying to figure out how to do that myself, but
I'd like to get in on that.
that
me know.
that'd be unbelievable. We could work together on this. Yesterday we had a 988 ambassadors meeting. We talked about what the ambassadors had done and so forth in their own places. And I'll just mention 988 again. If you or someone you know is having a mental health crisis, if you're thinking about harming themselves or someone else, you dial 988. You will be connected to a local counselor that can talk to you right then and there, and also can set up future counseling sessions or anything that you need right then and there. Why 988 is nationwide. If you call that number, you'll be connected to someone that is local. So it's very important. Take the strain off 911, but also when you call 988, you get someone that's a professional that can actually help you, and that's what's very, very important. So it was a good meeting with 988 yesterday. I was on a phone call yesterday with the Mako Legislative Committee. One of the things was brought up was about cannabis and so forth, which Commissioner Wentz talked about, and basically I'll just emphasize what he said there. If this passes, and I believe it will with the ballot, that recreational marijuana will be legalized in Maryland, writing the regulations and all takes a long time. It's not a turn the faucet on. It's let's write the regulations, figure out how to do this, what's the best way, and all that. So it does take a while. I do believe it will pass, but I also believe it's going to be a couple years before it's actually out, and you have the dispensaries around. So I'll just echo what you said there. Is at the Westminster Fire Department open house. Really pretty good turnout. Of course, they did it in conjunction with the Oyster Stroll in downtown Westminster. So you just walked 2 blocks to the right, and you're right there. So I guess that was very good planning. So I'd also walked through the Oyster Stroll and talked to people and so forth. So it was a good day. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. A couple things want to share. The first, I guess, Chris, you wanted to share those photos. This past weekend, I was asked to say a few words to a nonprofit called Home for Our Troops. There's a handful of nonprofits that are out there. This one has built about 300 homes since its inception, and they build probably 5-6 homes a year for disabled veterans since 9/11. The soldier next to me is Sergeant Brandon Huff, who lost his leg above the knee during the IED explosion in 2004. He was in the hospital for 2 years after that. So talk about perseverance and resilience of a young man. And that's his wife of 5 years. So welcoming them to Carroll County, to Woodbine, was definitely a pleasure, honor, and a humbling experience. There's a conference down in D.C. that I attend. It's called the Association U.S. Army, and I was there this past week. My old boss is the executive director of Wounded Warrior Project, and I told him about this, and they partner very much with the Home for Our Troops, and the Home for Our Troops was also down there as well. But it's just another way to show how to come up with solutions when you're faced with a problem. And it's just really exciting that this veteran is part of our community. He's an avid kayaker. He teaches kayaking, especially to disabled veterans or those that are disabled. So really just welcome to the community, Sergeant and Mrs. Huff. Yesterday, I attended the drug treatment court. There were 6 graduates, and in order to graduate from drug treatment court, it takes 13 months minimum. Most of them that graduated were within that 13-14 month of that minimum time. This one young man, it was 1,065 days that took him to graduate drug treatment court, in other words, 4 years. And again, talk about resilience and perseverance in getting his act together. He gave a very lengthy but informative talk from the heart on what it took and the steps it took. Most of them will say there's no better place to get arrested than in Carroll County when it comes to this, because of the program that Judge Hecker and his team have established. And they're very welcoming to get themselves in the right, on the right path. And it's not just the court system, it's the court system, the Sheriff's Department, DCS, it's DSS, it's, Access Carroll, it's everybody working together, focusing on a solution to a problem that this individual may have. Last night I attended the Lions Club. I'm a proud Lion, along with Commissioner Weaver, a proud Lion, and Lindsay, I don't remember her last name, from the health department, spoke about addiction, and spoke about the team that the health department has in going out to individuals that are in crisis. I didn't know, but Lindsay is also a graduate of the drug treatment court, and that was pretty special. So I was honored to give her a hug and a coin and say thank you for just being a leader in our community through actions and not deeds. We really do have a pretty cool community, and it's not about talking about it, it's just about doing it. So just thanks again to Lindsay and the work that's being done in the challenging times that these drugs are having. The opioid task force is doing great, with what you all are doing, Commissioner Frazier and the team. It's unfortunate we have the problem, but it's a great thing that we have a solution with a team like this. And Carroll County, the numbers have decreased, but one is too many. But I applaud all the efforts that are happening. Okay, with all that said, I think we have two proclamations. Why don't we start with Commissioner Frazier, who's going to talk about Cybersecurity Month, and then Commissioner Weaver, not that there's any reason, but he is going to talk about Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month. Just saying. Commissioner
This
Frazier.
is elder abuse.
I think the cybersecurity is a joke because I'm known around the office as Mr. Technology. Not really.
Is that what you noticed?
So they gave me cybersecurity because I have trouble with the computers and all. Pretty sure that's why this is all landed with me.
Trouble.
I can turn them on.
When you spell computer with a K, we have a problem.
That's why it never comes up right. Okay. All right. Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Carroll County recognizes that it has a vital role in identifying, protecting, and responding to cyber threats that may have significant impact on our individual and collective security and privacy. Critical infrastructure sectors are increasingly relying on information systems to support financial services, energy, telecommunications, transportation, utilities, healthcare, and emergency response systems. The See Yourself in Cyber campaign is designed as a Know Before awareness campaign used by private companies, nonprofit, and governmental organizations, as well as academic institutions, working together to increase the understanding of cyber threats and empowering the American public to be safer and more secure online. The National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework has been developed as a free resource to help organizations improve their cybersecurity practices through a practical approach to addressing evolving threats and challenges. Maintaining the security of cyberspace is a shared responsibility with each of us has a critical role to play, and awareness of computer security essentials will improve the security of Carroll County's information, infrastructure, and economy. The federal government in the United States of America, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and the National Cyber Security Alliance all recognize October as National Cyber Security Awareness Month. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Great. Mark, you or whoever else wants to come up?
The team.
If you're aware of this. No, I'm just kidding.
Share with us what's on your mind.
Morning, Commissioners. We thank you for giving us the opportunity this morning and doing this proclamation. I have with me today Ms. Bobby Savaliski, who is the manager of the Client Services Division. She is the one that is heading up all the activities for Cybersecurity Month, and her staff work on a daily basis with the people of Carroll County and our partner agencies to help make things assured. You're all very familiar with Mr. Sixton Kendall, who is the Network and Cybersecurity Manager for the county. He and his team do a great job of providing that front line to protect us from going on, but we all know that it is a complete and total group effort to do this, that the end user is as important to the cybersecurity as all of the defenses that we put in place by not clicking on things that don't look like they should be clicked on, not going out to websites that you're not familiar with, that type of thing. So again, we thank you for this opportunity and appreciate that we can promote this.
Okay, Bobby, Sexton, any add-on? No? That's okay. Appreciate all the work you all are doing. I mean, sometimes I feel like it's herding cats to get everything done, but the importance of it, and it's important at the national and the state level. The governor appointed more resources to cybersecurity. Federally, there are much more resources to cybersecurity, but if you ask all the leaders at that national and state level what keeps them up at night, they will say it's at the local level. They will say that it is the challenges of small businesses, but also at the local level, that keeps them up at night because of the challenges. So, and that's just from my experiences working with it over this past year. So, does anybody have any comments on this?
I'd like to thank Bobby for all the help you've given me throughout the years.
I think you owe her a lot.
Been up to my office quite a few times. Appreciate it. Thank you.
How do you turn this phone on again, Bobby? What's the password? What? Look, critical information here to everybody, not only our employees, but as you say, Commissioner Rothstein, those that have a small business, whatever it is, to our senior citizens who are very vulnerable as well when it comes to this. Because talk about an uptick in crap that we get every day. I mean, it's unbelievable. And you see it on the news. There was a big story on it. Apparently Russia likes to do interesting things to us from time to time. So, so very important. And, you know, I even find myself every now and then going, wait, who's this from and what? Nope, not going to do it. So to keep that in everybody's mind and fresh is really important, because, man, I'd hate to see something occur here that would bring us down, you know, with everything that, I mean, truly, what's the percentage of things that we rely on when it comes to our computers now? Is it 100% now?
Pretty close.
Yeah, 99.8 or something?
Yeah.
And, you know, we all carry one or two of these things around, and, you know, we got to be in touch. And can you imagine what would happen if we were crippled? So I appreciate the efforts you guys have done over the years. You've done a great job, from putting it out there to posters on the wall or in the elevator or wherever. That's important. So you got to keep that in everybody's mind. So thank you. That's
I love the posters you put up. You're everywhere. Just a reminder to everybody, but that was great.
reminder's really important. So anyway.
Okay.
If I may, I took the fishing awareness test. I didn't catch no fish. But I must admit, when I first came onto this duty, I was a little bit not understanding all these different awareness tests that revolve every quarter. And now that I've been into it, I'm much more educated on the subject and a greater appreciation for it and the importance of it. I just want to emphasize out there to all the county employees, don't keep pushing it off. Sometimes it's like, I don't want to take that test. Just dig into it, take it, and you'll be a much better employee when you do so. So I encourage everyone to make sure you don't delay taking those tests and seminar. You'll be a better employee and protect the organization overall, which is, I think, the ultimate objective. So thank you for what you do.
Okay. Want we get a photo with the proclamation? And
Sure.
In the interest of not clicking on something, I'll just sit here.
Matt comes out, you have to come out.
We'll balance it out. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Always. Okay, ladies, why don't you all come up as we get set for the elderly to speak about the
reading this one?
long-term care residents' rights month. And I think we have a new person you're also going to introduce. So, pretty excited about that. Sir.
Okay. I don't know why I was picked to read this, but Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month, October 2022. 10 nursing homes and 30 assisted living facilities are licensed to operate in Carroll County, providing approximately 1,800 beds for short-term rehab and long-term care. In the Federal Nursing Home Act of 1987 and the Code of Maryland regulations guarantee residents their individual rights in order to promote and maintain their dignity, and all residents should be aware of their rights so they may be empowered to live with dignity and self-determination. And we wish to honor citizens who live in long-term care communities, recognizing their rich individuality and reaffirm their rights. And the theme of Residents' Rights Month 2022 is inspiring unity within our community. We recognize that being a part of a community is essential to well-being and we encourage long-term care residents and Carroll residents to foster community by strengthening connections and mutual support. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim October as Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month in Carroll County. We urge every resident to take time this month to acknowledge long-term care residents and people who care for them for their valuable contribution to our community. Adopted the 13th day of October.
You did that very well.
At my age, it's easy.
You have wisdom.
Okay, so yeah, before we just turn it over, I think the word that resonates most with me is dignity. As you know, my dad passed a few months ago, and as he moved into longer-term care, that was the word that they used most. And again, like before, it's about deeds and not words, and they showed that, and they show it every moment. So dignity was so critical, to him, to my mom, to my family. So I think that's the most special, piece of this, and it's hard, because it's going the extra mile, and taking my shift is over at 5. But staying there till 5:10 or 5:15 to ensure somebody is dressed appropriately or bathed appropriately, or you don't just put them in a corner. And a lot of that's that dignity piece. So, that's what I reflect on when I hear that. But any comments or thoughts?
Critically important. There's no doubt about it. It's interesting to me. Maybe a same topic, just a different road. I guess I'm on the highway. I just got off on an off ramp. I never understood before about this role reversal.
Yeah.
About how the kids are taken care of by the parents, and then at some point, that all gets reversed. And certainly that's a part of this. But that's really important to remember. Many of us, as we approach.
Commissioner Weaver's age?
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we go through that, and these kind of things. Again, it's important to remind everyone of the long-term care facilities that we have and the resources that are available, because You know, that's important. And I've said this many times since I've been here for almost 8 years now. I'm not going to give the count, Weaver, because you yelled at me the other day. It's 52, by the way. Anyway, that generation of folks we have relied on for years and still do for their knowledge and just their overall importance as we continue here in this county to be the best in the state. So anything we can do to give back to ensure that they are taken care of with dignity and all the other aspects is incredibly important. And I applaud all of you for being part of that. So thank you.
It's one of the toughest jobs you can have, dealing with elderly elder care, and I've been there. I'm sure, Ed, you've experienced it. And we have some great facilities, but it is a very difficult thing to do. It's very hard. So I do appreciate what people that do this professionally. I have a great deal of respect for them.
So, if I may add, you know, my parents are in their early 80s, and I'm becoming very acutely aware of this issue. I think Commissioner Wance made a very good point about the role reversal and how we as a community and society treat our elderly is a direct reflection upon us as a community. And as we become elderly and need that assistance, we hope that the love and respect we gave to our elderly citizens is placed upon us as we enter that, because it's inevitable. We're all going to be in that position, and the greater we treat our elderly now, the better off we will be treated as we become elderly as well. So bless you all for what you do. It's an admirable thing to do, so thank you very much.
Okay, ladies.
So I'm joined with me today, as you mentioned. We do have one of our new staff, but Gina Valentine is our Bureau Chief of Aging and Disabilities. We have Gail Gannon, who is our Ombudsman Manager, and then now we have joining us since August of this year, we have Mackenzie Streeter. And Mackenzie, just a little background for her, she joined Carroll County's Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program in August of this year. She has a bachelor's degree in social work from Frostburg State University. During that time, she interned with Allegheny County Area Agency on Aging, where she was first introduced to ombudsman work, which was fantastic for us because that is a very specific role that an ombudsman plays, that she came in to our county with already having that knowledge base. She is also a certified occupational therapy assistant, which is another fantastic component to have with an ombudsman because she's also worked in assisted living facilities as an activities coordinator. In that role, she planned and implemented person-centered resident activities and gained a deep appreciation for the importance of advocating for older adults. And I think that this team and the advocacy that they provide in our assisted living and long-term care facilities is phenomenal, and ensuring residents' rights and working with every angle to make sure that residents have those rights that they deserve. So I'm going to turn it over to Gina to say a few words, and then I know Gail wants to speak. She has a lot of things to say as well.
Okay.
I just want to recognize the role of that Gail and Mackenzie play with going into the long-term care facilities to uphold the rights of residents who live in those facilities. Residents don't always understand what their rights are and that they do have rights. They have the right to question their medications, the right to be involved in their care, to receive quality of care, and to be treated with dignity, of course, and respect. Their role is so important, and they have difficult jobs, they truly do, but they're great at what they do. And what they do day in and day out truly makes a difference to people who live in those facilities and their family members who are watching out for them as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Gail.
Oops.
That's okay.
Just wanted, as Commissioner Weaver mentioned, the theme of this year's Resident Rights Month is inspiring unity within our community. And during the pandemic, residents in long-term care facilities were disconnected from their communities. That included the broader community when visitation was restricted and when residents weren't able to leave their facilities. And additionally, within the facilities, residents were disconnected from each other and from staff when they had to stay in their rooms, group activities were suspended, communal dining was suspended. And being part of a community is essential to well-being. So what Mackenzie and I have been doing this month as we go to visit facilities is attending resident council meetings and any kind of gathering of residents to speak with them about what their rights are. And we've been distributing to the activities group for residents to play. We've purchased some decks of playing cards, which each card has a resident rights listed on it. So it's a kind of a fun way for residents to engage with each other, but also have their rights right in front of them as a reminder. And then we've been distributing bookmarks, which we'd also like to give one to each of you for. And it reminds people that what their rights are: to be treated with dignity and respect, make their own choices, privacy, confidentiality, to voice concerns without fear of retaliation. And then we've been distributing privacy doorknob holders, which also lists resident rights. So we just can't thank you enough on behalf of the long-term care residents for recognizing them in this special way for Resident Rights Month.
So when you're talking long-term, are you talking assisted living? Are you talking
Skilled nursing?
Skilled nursing? Are you talking? I mean, is it everything from independent living to skilled nursing and
we as
how do you do
ombudsmen,
it? Yeah.
as ombudsmen, we are advocates for residents in skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes, and assisted living communities.
And when the skilled nursing is temporary
For
because-
rehab, yes.
for rehab, are you also
Yes.
going into okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, because my dad again was in Virginia. It was skilled nursing, and then we moved him from independent living, hospital, skilled nursing to assisted living up here.
Right,
So
right.
okay, and so that's skilled nursing time.
Yes.
I really wish you guys were there because it's hard. You know, they're short staffed. You know, they're really short staffed in skilled nursing. It is very difficult to give an individual the independence that they deserve and they need, and family oversight, became critical, during that time. And it's not just a day or two, but it was months, that he had to go through that. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And we often assist family members by attending care plan meetings with them
Okay.
to make sure that their
to
concerns
know.
are brought to the fore and are appropriately addressed.
Okay. So Mackenzie, you're the star of the show. What do you have to say?
Well, I'm very, very happy to be here. So far, with my short time being with these ladies and Gail as my mentor, I've learned so much. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm really enjoying being out there in the field and seeing the difference that we make in people's lives. It's so important, so important. So I'm so happy I'm here in this role.
Absolutely agree. Thank you. Okay, why don't we get a happy snap and move on?
Aging, I don't know if I can do it. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem, me too. I got to take them too. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, am I supposed to shake your hand?
That's okay. It's a military thing.
Your challenge is to stay in Kilkenny and do a job.
And put up with the commissioners.
Yeah, I know. What's going on with all that? I'm freaking shedding. Okay, let's, Mr. Hine, why don't you come on up here and let's talk about Willow Pond tree planting fall 2022. Who's coming up? If not you, Chris. Okay.
Yeah, you're 5 minutes early. We had a bet this morning how long you were going to take. So
Who's betting?
Chris Wham.
Oh, sell me out.
The voice from above.
That's pretty good.
Okay. I apologize.
The Office of Procurement, in conjunction with the Bureau of Resource Management, requests your approval to award a contract in the amount of $32,840 to Bryce Lawn Care and Landscaping LLC. The Office of Procurement solicited bids for the planting of 720 native trees to establish or enhance an upland forest of over 3.61 acres of open parcel located in the city of Westminster. This planting is being funded primarily by the Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Bays Trust Fund in the amount of $31,000. The remaining is county funded, is within the adopted budget, and no additional funds will be necessary.
So, good morning, Commissioners. As Carrie mentioned, we are looking to perform a tree planting adjacent to the Willow Pond Stormwater Management Facility that we recently retrofitted. Byron has been working on a planting plan which was solicited using native plants. This planting will give us approximately 4 acres of impervious treatment towards our MPDS permit goals.
The bids were very close.
They
from
were.
32 to 34. Was this a low bid? I mean, what have we used this company before where we're that confident in them, or?
So
your
we have
thoughts?
not used this company before. Byron did extensively check their references because, you know, we were unsure. And like you said, the bids were very close. But all the reference checks came back positive for the areas that they had planted. We didn't hear of any concerns. We also verified the nurseries that they were going to be obtaining the stock from. Several of the nurseries were here local.
Yeah.
So
Where's Benson? Anybody know? Benson, Maryland.
So I'm not 100% sure. I do know a lot of the work that they had done was like Severna, Park, Pasadena.
area.
I mean, because they're so close, just one more time on this is there a, not necessarily a threshold, but a point where they're so close that we kind of even it all out and say, okay, you're all within $1,000 on a very large project. Let's look at this as even. I mean,
We don't. When we advertise the solicitation, it specifically says it will be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. In this case, since the reference checks did, they were in favor, you know, the company does do a good job. They've, you know, had references that checked out, and they were the low bidder. We were confident that they were responsive and they were responsive to the bid in the that they met all the qualifications as far as the bid requirements. And then as far as responsible, when the references were checked, verified, they came back, you know, favorable reference checks. So in that case, with them being the lowest bidder, that's who we go with.
if Benson is the same place I'm looking on my map, we're talking it's in Howard County, right off 32. So, I mean, like literally
There's a Benson in Harford County too.
just
I was
south
gonna
of
say,
70.
I think when I looked them, they were
The
more
Hartford County
to
one?
the
I
to
think
the
they're in
east.
Harford. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Benson is in Harford. I've been up through there before, and
Okay.
I remember.
I can't
But it
remember.
was
Like a village.
It was like an hour away.
Oh, okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
so that's
Probably is hard.
Unless you're walking.
Yeah, because you know we are also tying this contractor to 3 years of
Okay.
maintenance at the
Okay.
site,
Yeah.
and we did analyze the bids for the trees plus the maintenance to make sure that it wasn't a lopsided bid where they bidded heavy for the
Right.
material and then light on the maintenance cost.
How long do they have to maintain their planning?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
I think we just revised that recently, didn't we?
Well, that is for forest conservation plantings that with the code
This is
revisions.
different? This is different.
This is different because it's part of our MPDS compliance. So we have the contractor tied to 3 years of maintenance. After that time, the city of Westminster will maintain the tree planting with mowing. And then as needed, when the trees get to a point that shelter removal is necessary or invasive, you know, we've we have events, Byron organizes events to get the community involved to participate in those.
So, Mara, is this tree planting scheduled before our term ends, or will it be after our term ends? First week of December.
The planting window is October 15th to December 15th, so it may fall during the term.
Well, Mr. Madigan, I really enjoyed the stream monitoring tour I did with you. That was fascinating. And I hope the next commissioners that come in go out and do those site visits with you and get an in-depth understanding of exactly what you'll do. If this tree planting takes place, excuse me, before I leave office, please contact me. I'd like to do a site visit, do some photos, and show the public exactly what we're doing here and the importance of it for us. So thank you.
Of course.
Since this is taking place within the city of Westminster, are we doing this because it's part of the stormwater management?
Correct. This type of practice isn't considered, the state considers an alternative best management practice, so it does help offset like our stormwater impervious costs. So like Janet said, we're getting about 4 acres of impervious credit treatment for doing this project.
Okay. Is this one of the, like the 80%, 20% split with the city, or is all us?
Well, as Carrie mentioned, we did receive $31,000 in grant funding from Maryland DNR through the Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Bay Trust Fund. But this would be a project where the MOA between the municipalities and the county comes into play to make up the difference.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll make the motion the Board of Commissioners award the contract for Willow Pond tree planting fall 2022 to Bryce Lawn Care and Landscaping LLC in the amount of $32,840.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Seeing here none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's talk about environmental compliance engineering services.
Commissioners, we're here today to request your approval for 5 firms to be added on an as-needed basis to our term contract list to provide professional services, specifically for environmental compliance engineering services. These contracts will be for a 1-year term with 4 additional renewal options pending physical availability and satisfactory performance of the vendor. No single task assignment in the contract will exceed $150,000. The Office of Procurement, in conjunction with the Department of Land and Resource Management, received 12 proposals for the project. An evaluation committee was formed, and those technical and financial were reviewed, and the proposals were submitted. The committee evaluated all the proposals based on the criteria detailed in the proposal, and the top 5 highest-ranked firms were selected and listed. Those are Century Engineering, Wallace Montgomery, Carroll Land Services, A. Morton Thomas and Associates, Whitman Reichert and Associates.
Okay. I mean, when you say 4 options, you're talking about 4 individual optional years?
So the initial term will be for 1 year.
Right.
We take a look at the vendor upon renewal of that next term.
Right.
For their performance, if the agency, is satisfied with how they've performed over the past year, and the physical availability, of course, of funding. Once that's approved, then they will get an additional year.
Okay.
And then the same process.
Yep. So it's
going
4 individual optional
Correct.
years.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Just seems like it's a way to become more efficient. So you have a pool to.
Yes.
Yes.
This is the 3rd time we have put this term contractor solicitation out to bid, each of those being in similar fashion with 1 year and then 4 years of renewal options. We do heavily utilize these engineering companies for our restoration design work for NPDES permit compliance. So for the stormwater retrofit stream restoration projects, I would say in any given year, we're putting out, between 5 and 8 projects for restoration, and then maybe some of the more extensive maintenance projects, we may need to engage these engineers for smaller engineering tasks.
Okay. Any questions?
I don't think so.
Will the Board of Commissioners award the contract for environmental compliance engineering services to Century Engineering, Wallace Montgomery, Carroll Land Services Incorporated, A. Morton Thomas and Associates Incorporated, Whitman Record and Associates LLP.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any further discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
ladies.
much.
Good job, Chris. Really appreciate the backup. Okay, Mr. Deggets, why don't you come on up here? Let's talk about some self-help projects.
Morning, Director Daggett.
Good morning. Lovely rainy day. Here this morning for our annual ritual of reviewing self-help project requests that have come to us from the Recreation Councils. These requests were presented at the September 28th Advisory Board meeting, and they made a recommendation to fund projects that I'm going to list for you very quickly, and staff are in agreement with that recommendation. Projects include the following: ball field improvements for Central Carroll Rec Council at Roaring Run Lions Club Park. Also from Central Carroll, ball field improvements at Sandy Mount Park. In each of these cases, it's purchase of ball mix, which is then added to the fields. It improves the playing conditions and safety. Central Carroll requested funding for athletic field improvements at Deer Park. This is for the main field, the first field on the left when you come in, and it is to restore the crown on the field. Ideally, you have a crown on the field and the water drains off to each side. Over time, the middle of the field tends to get used very heavily, and the opposite occurs. Freedom Area Rec Council submitted a request for a new scoreboard at Carrolltown Elementary, also glass backboards and some wall mats for player safety. Freedom Area Rec Council also requested funds for the South Carroll Dog Park for a new shade structure. This shade structure will be located actually just outside the dog park. There's a new patio area that was funded with donations, and a picnic table, a large octagon picnic table, is being placed there. We don't allow children in the dog park, so this would give them a nice shaded area outside. If their parents are bringing their dogs in, they can sit and watch, protected from the sun. West Carroll Recreation Council requesting ball field improvements for Northwest Middle School. There are 4 ball diamonds there that have not been used for a number of years, and there's going to be a substantial amount of ball mix that needs to be added there. Winfield Park, Winfield Rec Council is requesting funding for dugout shelters for the one field that exists there. And then the last project, also from Winfield Rec Council, is some fencing for Mayeski Park around the dugout area for fields 5 and 6. The net result of all of these requests is county funding in the amount of $90,404. That is supported by Rec Council funds of $33,532, and the total project costs are $123,936. There is sufficient funding within Recreation Parks capital budget for FY23 to cover the county cost. That's also using some funds that have been returned from closed out projects that came in under budget. So we're here today, first to answer any questions you may have about any of those projects, and then to request a transfer from the self-help fund that would be used by management and budget to set up individual accounts for each of these projects.
Well, I think this is a wonderfully successful program that shows a partnership between the private and public sector. I'm very happy to see 2 Winfield projects in there. I'm a little bit partial to Winfield. But I have a technical question. Did you state earlier that children aren't allowed in the dog park?
You have to be on a leash.
Easy now. It's not a liability.
It's the only off-leash area we have.
Is there a liability question there? Did I hear you correctly?
Children, I believe it's age 12 and under, are not allowed to be in there.
Okay.
And again, it's just liability is a part of that, and trying to watch your child and watch your dog at the same time.
And you can't put the children on a leash technically.
Kind of like when you have twins and they learn how to walk.
Yeah.
As soon as they can go different directions, your work's cut out for you.
Thanks for clarification.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any other comments, I'll make a motion.
I do have a question. When these, like for the field improvement and so forth, this amount include all the work that's required or just the material?
This generally is the material. It's the purchase of the ball diamond mix. So depending on the conditions of the field and also where the mix is coming from and where it's being delivered to, that impacts the price greatly. You know, if you're purchasing mix from Tawnytown and it's being delivered to Tawnytown,
Sure.
you
But then who
deliver
does the
it
work?
much cheaper.
Who does the work?
Typically, it's the volunteers who do the work, the spreading and the dragging of the ball mix on the fields.
So the volunteers are going to put a crown back on that field? They have
In
the
that
expert-
particular case, that's more than just adding ball mix to a ball
Right.
diamond. No, that'll be a contractor doing that
Okay.
work. And that's a straight 3-to-1, county paying 75% and rec council paying 25%.
Okay, so some of them are contractors, but all that's included in this price? If
Yes.
the contractors need it, okay.
Correct.
All right,
Oh,
thank you.
How are we doing on the numbers for the Rec and Parks Advisory Board?
As far as members?
Yeah.
We are down one. I think we've submitted a recommendation to fill a position where we had a resignation.
Okay.
We have 2 members that will be going off the board the end of this calendar year. So they have one more meeting to go, and then we'll be looking to fill those openings.
Okay. The other question, a lot of conversations been coming up or resonating regarding playgrounds at the elementary schools. And this is not for that. However, if there are playgrounds at elementary schools or fields at elementary schools that can be co-used, like Eldersburg is a good one, with the rec programs, do we have a priority list for them where we could satisfy 2 things with one effort? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
The advisory board has put together a priority system, if you will, for when they review these requests.
Okay.
What they look at first, since this is within Carroll County's Recreation and Parks capital budget, their first priority is to look at county parks and projects located within county parks. Second priority is typically municipal parks, could be Board of Education sites, could be like Roaring Run is a quasi-public park, but if it's actively used by our programs and our recreation councils, they would look at them as a second priority. And then the last priority would be projects that are for the general benefit of the community. So in the case of a school playground, that's where that would fall in that third priority if there's funding remaining. A walking trail at a city facility, municipal facility, or Lions Club Park would also fall in that category. It's the general benefit of the community, but not necessarily one of our programs.
So, with that said, I ask that you, reach back out to the advisory board about that third priority, because there are playgrounds at the elementary schools that are being shut down because of safety. And, finding the funding appropriate, if this is potential funding that could be used, or at least partially used, we may want to at least consider that.
And this program has been used to partially fund some playgrounds at school sites. Generally, with playgrounds costing $150,000
yeah.
plus or minus, projects here are limited to $25,000 or less. So when it has happened, it has been a small portion of money that has then gone to the Board of Education to help fund that effort.
Right.
But it is not going to be nearly enough to,
understood, to do a complete
fund the
replacement,
complete
but
replacement.
it could be a partial. And,
Yes.
I met with, I don't know what the acronym stands for, but they call themselves C3PO. It is the, basically the PTOs of all the elementary schools the other day. And the topic was playgrounds. And we were talking about different ways to gather money for these playgrounds, especially those that are not just ending their life cycle, but right now, the ones that are critical that have ended their life cycle. And there's a social issue with the kids not having the ability to be on playgrounds.
Right.
But if this can be a partial, not complete, but a partial, with then the, CCPS and other ways that may solve some of it. But just if you can, take a look at that. I'd appreciate
If you have
that.
a contact person from that group that you
Absolutely.
could share with me, I would be happy to meet
I'll
with
share
them.
all 20 of them with you.
If they meet on any sort of regular basis, I'd be happy to meet with them and try to explain the process and here are some multiple options. And PTAs and PTOs have an incredible ability to raise funds. Freedom Elementary a few years back approached us, and we didn't have funding at the time because it had been used up by other projects, and they weren't sure what direction they were going to go. And
So-
within a year and a half, they put together a tremendous amount of money. So we can try to connect them with groups.
I
do
agree
help
with
fund.
you, but and I apologize going off on the tangent, but it is important. PTOs, PTAs are not designed to raise money, although they can. But by their status and charter, they are not designed to. But if the need arises, you're right. They have sometimes a lot of reach. The other thing is not all PTO, PTAs, or schools are equal. And communities, the
Surrounding
Carrolltown
business
community is very different than another school community in another part of the county. So, how do we become more equitable looking at the schools? And the first step I told them is get the priority of playgrounds that you want to rotate and be fixed and completed. I will connect you with them without belaboring this, but it's important because it all kind of comes in, and a lot of it has to do with the social demands of our kids and keeping them healthy, physically, emotionally, and socially. So, okay.
And while the primary benefit is for the students at the school, there absolutely is community benefit
Absolutely.
as well.
Why
Because
why
they're
aren't the
enjoyed
playgrounds
after
under the
hours.
school anyway?
I'm sorry?
Why are the playgrounds separate from the school as far as funding?
They're not.
No, well, actually, they've had this discussion at the Board of Ed meetings. The school system, don't quote me on any of this but they put their funding more toward the buildings and the academics inside the buildings, and they don't feel they have the excess funding to do the playgrounds that are around the buildings. However, I do believe this would be a good way to get that started, but I would like to see a matching program with the school system.
Yeah.
If we put in $2,000 or $3,000, the school system itself puts in $2,000 or $3,000 and keep it going. I mean, I'm all for this. I think it's a necessary thing, but I'd like to see the school system kick in a little bit of funds themselves, kind of like what we do with the college for technology. We put in $350,000, they raise $350,000 toward what they need. Because let's face it, those school children use these playgrounds every single day, and I think it's a vital asset for the elementary schools. I really do. I think it's something that's needed. I would like to have, maybe you could approach the school people, say, we're willing to put up some money to help with these playgrounds, but it's going to be matching from you as well. And then the PTAs or PTOs can look at what's left. Because I think it's a good step we should be taking.
I think that's great. Absolutely. And, this is not for us to take on our own, nor should we. And this was the major conversation we had with this, again, C3PO, and I apologize. I know it's Carroll County something, but I will get you the points of contact for them, and let's keep this conversation going, because with 23 elementary schools, I believe it is, in Carroll County, it's not fixing them all at one time with $1.5 million. It's getting them on a rotational, where you're fixing 2 or 3 and moving on to the next year. But, I do think it's a partnership that we can take on.
And I work very closely with Ray Prokop within Board of Education for any projects at school sites, so I will reach out to him as well and just let him know that this subject came up and
Great.
talk about some ways to move forward.
Really appreciate the conversation.
Especially with the backboards. I mean, that's inside. I mean, why are we doing that?
In the case of an elementary school gym or a middle school gym, there are no school sports teams. Basically, you're talking your physical education program. So to go to an improved backboard, a glass backboard, which you tend to see more for competition and scoreboards, they're not using that for part of the educational program. That's benefiting us as the recreational user after hours.
Okay.
If we were doing that at a high school, I think that would be a different discussion.
Okay.
Right.
Because the high schools do have high school sports.
Seeing all the bricks those kids throw up, you know they need new basketball.
Okay, that.
You haven't seen Sam play basketball. Not pretty.
Yeah. Well, the only other question I had was, I think you said there are, at West Carroll, at Northwest Middle, there are ball field improvements because of, they haven't been used. How can that possibly be?
They haven't been used for softball or for baseball. They've been used for field sports. So a lot of times what will happen is the grass will overtake the infield.
Right.
And if you don't need the infield to be skinned for baseball or softball, they'll allow that to continue. And actually there's some benefit to having grass there instead of dirt, which tends to get pretty muddy.
Okay.
As usage changes, if you have a softball program that's now looking to use those fields, there's some maintenance to convert them back into usable softball fields.
The way everybody's always barking that there's not enough fields in the county, when you say they haven't been used, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because you just maybe don't want to go to Tawnytown or something? I mean, come on. It sounds like 3 fields that could really come into...
Yeah.
I think this is a case just of the sports using the facility changing.
All right, good. All right.
Was barking a pun intended?
So
Yeah, it was back to the dog park.
good, really good conversation. Please let's follow up
Will do.
appropriately on this. So I'll move the Board of County Commissioners approve the transfer of $90,404 from community self-help to 8 self-help project accounts to be established by the Department of Management and Budget.
Second, and I also want to very quickly thank you for mentioning the volunteer hours of the rec councils. I know they put tens of thousands of hours into this stuff all across the county, and they deserve a lot of respect and appreciation from us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, got a motion, second. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. One very quick item to bring up, if I could.
Time's up.
Seriously.
Up. I knew I should have led with this, but I thought I'd wait till after the vote.
The volunteer that night?
This is the last time that I'm bringing self-help projects to this board. And I just wanted to take a minute and thank you on behalf of the rec councils for your support, and not only of these projects, but of rec councils and volunteers in general. It's very much appreciated. They see this, they know this, and they appreciate everything you've done during your terms. So thank you.
You so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate all the tours you gave me to get me familiar with your department.
Okay, let's talk about approval for purchase of an easement owned by the ARC of Carroll County. Cool.
Good morning, gentlemen.
It's step one. We're going in a good direction.
This is about step 80.
Yeah. Well,
About step 80.
yeah.
One was a long time ago.
Well,
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Here this morning to request your approval to purchase 5.4 acre avigation easement on the property owned by the ARC of Carroll County, located at 180 Criders Church Road for $216,800. The damages to the property value caused by the encumbering the avigation easement appraised at $216,800. The easement is being purchased in connection with the Carroll County Regional Airport's Runway Safety Enhancement Project. We have received FAA concurrence on the purchase of this easement, and FAA will pay 90% of the purchase, the MAA will pay 5%, and the county will pay 5%, which will come out of the Airport Enterprise Fund. Open for any questions you may have.
When we buy the navigation easement, what does that mean that we're buying?
We're buying the airspace above that property.
So they still have the right to use the property?
They still have the right to use the property.
Up to a certain height, I would think.
Up to a certain height, they're restricted to build or let any trees grow above a certain height on that property.
All right. I'll make the motion the Board of Commissioners approve the purchase of the navigation easement of 5.4176 acres on a portion of land owned by the ARC of Carroll County located at 180 Criders Church Road for $216,800.
Second.
got a motion, got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let's talk about request approval to sign and accept MAA, Maryland Aviation Administration grant for rehabilitation of the roof of the FBO building at the airport.
Good morning, Commissioners. Department of Public Works is asking approval from the board to proceed with signature and acceptance of an MAA grant to facilitate rehabilitation of the roof of the main terminal building. The board had previously approved the full cost, and that was going to come out of the Airport Enterprise Fund. We received this grant offer from the MAA to participate at a rate of 75%. So they will be participating with $142,865, and the whole cost of the project will be $190,487. So they'll be paying 75% of the project.
Well, this is nothing but a good thing. So I make the motion, the Board of County Commissioners approve the acceptance of the MAA grant to assist in repair of the roof on the main FBO building for $142,865.
Second.
I got a motion, I got a second. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay,
Thank you.
for all your work.
outstanding. Stormwater drain pipe and on Lepo Road. Who wants to talk about that? Mr. Cook, you enlighten us? Ladies,
Good morning, Commissioners.
take care of Mr. Cook. Okay.
Hey, the Office of Procurement and Cooperation with the Bureau of Roads Operation requests your approval to use an existing term contract with Concrete General to replace a failing stormwater drain pipe at 412 Lepo Road, Westminster, in the amount of $108,295.50. This amount is within the approved budget and no additional funds should be necessary.
It's a terrible picture. You should have fixed this like 2 years ago, Kathy. What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't know.
That is pretty nasty.
It is bad. Originally, we were going to line this pipe, but then with going through the MDE permits, and engineering, MDE now wants head walls on both ends of these pipes, so that is what kind of pushed it back a little bit. This project was also sent out to bid. We sent it to 4 contractors. I only received 2 bids back. This bid and then CJ Miller for $119,000.
Well, if you sent them this picture, I can understand why there would only be 2 coming back.
Wait till you see the next one that's coming. That one's even better.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is, what'd you call that last one?
A disaster.
Nothing but a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I move that we approve the replacement of the failing stormwater drain pipe on Lepo Road in the amount of $108,295.50.
Second.
I got a motion, I got a second. Is there any discussion on this?
Are we digging up the road to do this?
Yes, this
I figured
is
it
a
would be,
complete
yeah.
replacement. Yes, with poured head walls on both ends.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought.
We will be shutting the road down during the day. We're getting signs posted next week. Board of Ed will be notified, but they will be plating at night, so it is not shut down all night.
All right.
Well, I know that there's thousands of these pipes on the roads throughout the county, and the fact that you all pay attention to this and stay on top of this provides their public safety, because this road washes out, someone could get seriously injured or killed. So thanks for paying attention to all this.
How many miles of pipes do we have?
Miles?
You really want to? I don't know if we have a calculation
I
on
don't know
that.
if we have footage.
Yeah.
No, okay.
I was
Answer's 3.
informed that
The answer's
your
C.
department went out and categorized all these with GPS and
Doug
labeled
Brown.
them
Okay.
all. And it was quite impressive.
Yeah.
We're
We're still working on
We're
that.
So
still
that's how
working
many
on
there are, I
that.
guess.
And every
Yeah.
update that gets done is going in the GIS system with all the new data.
That was very
Everything that's been
impressive tour
done.
that was given on that.
Yeah. Anytime we fix them, we send it over to them and they add it
And it
to
keeps a running status too, like when it was repaired, what's forthcoming.
life expectancy and all that too, yeah.
Good old Lepo Road.
Yes.
Highly traveled Lepo Road.
It is. And getting,
Actually, it has picked up a lot
It is.
over the years. So
It is.
I remember when it was dirt.
all them roads up there are getting
Yeah.
heavy traveled now.
When you started here.
Well, yeah, right. So, okay, cool. Cool deal.
I got a motion, second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Bokey. Okay, let's talk about funds transfer for circuit court building bi-directional amplifier distributed antenna system with a BDA/DAS.
A little technical.
And the importance of this. Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning. Morning.
First thing I want to do is thank the Sheriff and Corporal Powell for joining us. That way, if you have any questions about what we're going to talk about, they're the subject matter experts of the need, and they can speak to
You're
why.
stretching that, Scott, but go ahead.
All right.
Very much so, but that's all right.
Well, we actually have a two-part request before you, Commissioners. I'm going to speak, if I may, to the subject of why a bi-directional amplifier / distributed antenna system is needed, why we're asking for that today. It was reported to us, and I believe it was the end of August, early September, that there was a radio signal issue in the circuit court building. Unfortunately, it was the first we became aware of the deficiency, but because of how serious it is, we felt that it had to be, and everyone agreed it had to be addressed now. It's not something that can wait to some later date, which is why it's not a budgeted improvement. Specifically, in response to the concern for lack of adequate radio signal, we had it professionally evaluated. The results of the evaluation confirmed there was a problem. We asked the vendor, Hankey's Radio. They are the exclusive radio vendor through our agreement with Motorola. And their proposed fix was the proposed bidirectional amplifier distributed antenna system installation. The cost of that is $26,102, but in order to fund that, we have to request a budget transfer of the appropriate funds so we have the money in order to award the contract. So I believe I'm doing this correctly, that what we need, what we're requesting from the commissioners is a two-part or two separate, that's today, two separate decisions. One is to agree to transfer the $26,102 from the reserve from contingency, is that correct?
Yeah.
To our budget, public safeties. And then subsequently, we're going to ask you to please allow us to award the contract to Hankey's to do this necessary work.
Correct. Before we move forward, Sheriff, is there any, we got you over here, is there any
Well, first I'll introduce Corporal Brittany Powell. She oversees court security for me. It was actually Brittany that brought it to our attention.
Okay.
As you know, when you go into the basement of the courthouse, the circuit courthouse, it's just straight up concrete. It's very difficult to get out there. Everybody that comes in, that goes upstairs to the courtrooms that are prisoners, inmates from my jail, as well as anybody that's coming here for a hearing, goes into Corporal Powell's small holding area in the basement and then is moved up to the courtrooms accordingly.
That's not where you took me.
Yeah, I took you to a special room.
I never took you upstairs. Okay, comment from the cheap seats.
I'm glad he came in.
Just saying. Go ahead.
So Brittany brings it to our attention. Ironically, I moved Brittany about a month ago, I think, or a little over a month ago to court security. So she promptly noticed the issue and reached out to Scott, and we started discussing this. I do have the same system in our jail. We had the same problem in the jail, and this particular system works extremely well there. We anticipate it to work well in the circuit court building. And I guess, for lack of better words, we're the end user. So to say I'm a subject matter expert, if it beeps and I can talk on it, if that makes me an expert, then that's me and that's Brittany. All we care about is when something happens and we start yelling on the radio, it works, and down in that area, it isn't working. And that's where the problems can take place with the transfer of inmates.
And this existed from the beginning.
It was. I believe it reported, Sheriff, that it was a problem since we went to the new digital radio system. But this is the first that it was shared. And again, to the corporal's credit, she became responsible and immediately noted the deficiency, and that's why we're acting on it.
Yeah,
we became aware of it.
that.
We acted on it.
And Corporal, thanks for stepping up on
So
that.
they're looking for an antenna when you hit that button to start talking, and it just simply can't get through the concrete to find a tower to start communicating on, and so with this new system.
Well, Sheriff, I appreciate you bringing the corporal and giving her recognition. Corporal, did you want to add anything to this discussion? If so, you can approach the mic.
She's going to tell you that she's right today and I'm wrong, and here's why. because I'm wearing long sleeve shirts and she's wearing short sleeves, and Steve's looking at me like something's wrong because he knows it. I'm wrong and she's right. I got the dates wrong on when we were transferring.
Is it still too early in October? There you go.
Apparently,
Ours was October 15th. Is that what yours is?
It is the same. Yeah.
Ours was always October
I got my
15th.
dates screwed up.
Yeah, we actually pushed it in the fire department. We went to the end of October
Oh, did you?
because
Okay.
we found out that it was warm through the month of
These
October.
guys would wear short sleeves all year round and put a
Yeah, I
jacket on if I didn't.
Yeah.
That and the shorts thing, that was always a big.
I'm just really psyched about wearing long sleeves and a tie, so I wore them a
That's
little,
good.
As
little
a
earlier.
light
so.
fighter, we had sleeves down year round, which was pretty miserable. You know,
Waiting for
but,
Tim to say
the
something,
normal
but he
is October 15th.
said nothing
back in the
about
day,
this.
So
We can get you a pair of scissors.
I'm sure you could. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that this thing was used somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because
We have it at Fleet also, I think.
Yes, we have a couple of BDAs of this exact same, Commissioner, but what's unique is they are designed to the application, meaning this was professionally evaluated,
Okay.
and the design is to meet the unique need in there. So it's the same technology, but a custom application.
Okay, that makes sense. There was a generic one put in one of the fire stations in the county that worked 2 out of the 30 days of the month. So this one, if it's specifically engineered and designed for that building, then I'm fine. Yeah. That's good.
I assure you it is.
How long has this problem been going on? You
I
said
believe when we did some digging to find out that it apparently has existed since we went to the new digital radio system, but it was just.
which has been
Not a ton of time.
When did we make the conversion? 4 years ago. 5 years.
okay.
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand it's a problem and it needs to be remedied. I do get all that, but it's going on for 4 or 5 years, but it's an emergency right now?
I won't use, I apologize if I use the word emergency. I believe the nature of the problem, the fact that it's in where you have court security involved and they have folks that, now that we're aware of it, that we are obligated to act on it immediately.
And
That's
it's
my
not just
position.
us that communicates there, it's the bailiffs and folks that are in and out of there. And quite honestly, if I didn't send Brittany over there, I probably wouldn't know about it, Dennis. It's just, she picked up on it and realized it was a safety issue, and
Right, now that you put it that way, Mr. Campbell, that now we know about it, we're obligated to act on
Yes,
it,
sir.
that so it puts it in a little different light for me. I appreciate that.
How long will it take to get it rectified, this problem?
That was a great question that the sheriff asked, and the quote doesn't have a performance time, and the problem with that is there's no controlling if there's an issue with getting the device, et cetera. But I will personally say that I am confident that that if this is approved and the work is awarded to Hankey's Radio, that they will pursue this as quickly as humanly possible. I have no doubt they will. So it's not a matter of them scheduling it out in time. It's the instant they have the product they need, they will do the installation.
Okay.
Do they have the product on hand? Do you know?
Not the BDA, Commissioner. My understanding is BDAs are custom fabricated.
So it could be months away or something like that?
I'd say it could be, but I don't expect it to be. I'm trying to think of the last time we had work similar to this done by them, and it wasn't that bad.
Just because
it would be
of
sheer
what everything
conjecture
is
if I
now is
said
what
2
I'm
weeks or
saying.
2 months.
You know,
just so, there is a base radio there, so that gets out, does it not, Brittany? So it sits at, if you almost have to go down there. It's almost like walking into my office where there's a duty officer that sits there, and then behind them there's cells, there's transfer stations, all sorts of things that go on. So they can hit the radio and yell for help. They just got to get up to the base station. If there's something that happens behind them, a portable is hit or miss. It's almost impossible to get out. So they've been surviving that way, and it just took somebody to go over there and analyze what was going on and reach out to Scott, and that's what Brittany did. It makes it optimal if they have the BDA there so that they can transmit without running up to the base station.
And I think, Commissioner, if I may, what adds to the importance to us is just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it couldn't happen tomorrow, and that's our concern, that we need to make sure we do what we can to make sure it can't
right
be an
now
issue.
that we're aware of the situation
sir.
and there's a
Yes,
remedy
sir.
for it, it is our responsibility to fix it. I agree
Thank
with
you.
that 100%.
Okay, so let's move forward in transferring dollars, spending dollars, and watching Sheriff DeWeese do 20 push-ups for being in long sleeves.
That it?
According to the corporal, but you know,
Become
just-
soft, Ed.
It's an
But
easy
20,
way.
20 I can do.
I'm not sure about that, but I'm just saying those long sleeves will constrain the arms. But I'll move the Board of Commissioners approve Resolution 0 23.01 to transfer $26,102 from Reserve for Contingencies 0310 to Public Safety Administration 0114 to fund the purchase and installation of a bidirectional amplifier, distributed antenna system, BDA/DAS, in the Circuit Court Building.
Can you read that one more time?
Yeah, I didn't.
I got a motion, got a second. I will not repeat again. All in favor?
Aye.
Now let's move the Board of Commissioners approve the awarding the in-building bidirectional amplifier distributed antenna system to Hankey's Radio in the amount of $26,102.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for coming on over to share with us.
I've ever heard you move.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Go forth and communicate.
I'm gonna keep going.
Soon.
None of the rest of us wanted to make that motion.
It's too long. Go forth and communicate.
52 days and 6 sessions left, just saying.
You got the sessions.
Okay, let's talk about medical supplies.
The hours, but that's a little bit.
Let's not do that yet.
Okay, gentlemen, Maureen,
Good morning, Commissioners.
learn us.
We are here to request your approval to purchase medical supplies from Bound Tree Medical for an estimated annual cost of $350,000. These purchases will be made through a Fairfax County, Virginia contract that was competitively bid. This amount has been approved by the Bureau of Budget and no additional costs are anticipated at this time. If you have any questions, either I or Michael or Kevin answer your
I
questions.
do have a question. It says annual cost, so the stuff that we're purchasing, the medical supplies, is you can only use it for so many months or whatever before it's
These
no
are
good?
expendable supplies, everything from IVs to bandages.
Okay, so you're expected to have
splints.
to spend this much every year?
The majority
Okay.
of this is expendable.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Does the fire system use a class structure in supplies? Military uses a class 1 through 9, or do you not? So I know what I'm purchasing, or no? I was just curious. Okay. Why Fairfax as a contract vehicle and not another contract vehicle within the state? Is this?
We, again, don't have a preference law here in Carroll County. So the Fairfax, Virginia contract is a competitively bid contract. It is a cooperative contract, and we can piggyback off of it. So this was a contract that was looked at by Fire EMS, and it does meet their needs. So this is why we chose to go this way.
We're piggybacking on a state contract for this?
This contract was competitively bid through Fairfax County, Virginia. It's a competitive bid. It was awarded to Bound Tree Medical, and any government entity can piggyback off of it. And because it met Fire EMS's needs, that's why we chose to go that way with
Are we
Fairfax, Virginia.
confident this is the best price or a great price?
They give off, they carry a lot of different manufacturers, and they give percentage discounts off of the manufacturer's list price. I can't give you exact prices. I don't have anything in front of me.
The other thing that we're trying to do is, as we transition over a lot of things that the volunteers have historically purchased on their own, we're trying to make it seamless and not with a whole lot of emotion as they have with some vendors. So currently all 14 of the companies are using this same company. And this company, the ordering will stay the same, the account numbers will stay the same, they'll just become sub-accounts under the Carroll County contract. So
That's a good thing. That's great.
yeah, so the same people, our people, as we put them in the stations, will be doing the ordering, but they'll have the same choice of products. And the other thing that this company does, because we'll have limited warehouse space, is they'll actually drop ship it as it's ordered.
Where are they located?
Yeah, in Ohio.
Ohio. So basically, it's a distribution center. It's a vendor, but it's a distribution.
Yep, and they're using name brand products that you would see everywhere. The big thing is they specialize in EMS. So if you look at portion control of bandages, if we're using one field battle dressing, for example, it comes packaged individually. If we would buy through a hospital supply, we might get a case of 100 of those. And with the shelf life and the rotation and things, it's just more cost effective.
How often will we look at this? Excuse me. How often will we look at this contract? Is this going to come up every year, every couple of years, or this is not indefinite for this annual?
I think this particular contract is good through maybe July of '23.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume that the County of Fairfax, Virginia is going to rebid it, and then we would look at that point if we would piggyback on to whoever they awarded it to, or look at other contracts.
Right,
that
but we look at other places as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was competitively bid.
Correct.
And there were potential vendors or distribution centers. Actually, no, yes, through, not centers, but different. Were there different contract vehicles being bid, or were there different vendors? I mean,
when I looked up
wanna be
the
clear.
contract for Fairfax, Virginia, I
Yeah.
was not able to locate a page that, it usually will tell me all the vendors that
Yeah.
bid on it. I couldn't find that page. Doesn't mean that it's not out there, but with
Right.
limited time,
Right.
I couldn't find it.
Okay.
But whoever did bid this contract, along with Boundtree, Fairfax County awarded it to Boundtree
Right.
Medical.
and you mentioned preference law. We don't have.
Correct.
Do other jurisdictions they do have? Other counties or
I
no?
think there are some. I think it's few. Because
Yeah.
like I said, when you look at it through the procurement world, it limits competition.
Yeah.
And you might not always be getting the best pricing. So when you don't have a local preference law,
Right.
you are able to.
Go after the best price.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like I said, we have nothing against local vendors, of course, if they can do the job and they,
Sure.
they bid on it, you know, and they get the lowest price, or they bid on a proposal which is done by quality and pricing, we would certainly award it if they met all that criteria. It's nothing against
No.
local businesses.
Well said. I appreciate that. So.
Yeah, just a point of clarification, you're starting to build a supply here for these, and you're going to be hiring EMTs here in the near future. Is this only then they order out of this for the 3 fire departments you're going with? The other 10 order out of this
Well,
too?
we have two things at work, is the hiring and bringing on the 3 companies, but also each year incrementally we're taking things that the volunteers are buying individually and consolidating them to get better pricing. So by July the 1st, when we start this, for all of the volunteer companies, and prior to that it'll be for the 3 companies plus the 3 chase vehicles that we're going to have, because we got to start to get all that equipment together now. Even though we don't have the vehicles, we want to have everything ready to go so we can move it across.
So after July, the other 10 companies will not have to pay for these materials?
Correct.
After that.
So through the budget process, CC Visa has an allotment currently for medical supplies, so we will transition that over with. And in fact, I happened to meet with their treasurer yesterday about the very issue that we might want to transition with that sooner, just for cost savings.
Okay, that makes sense.
I noticed on the list, oxygen delivery, and in the welding industry, we use a lot of cryogenics, and that cost has been going through the roof. I was wondering if there's a potential to look at the amount of annual expense we'd have on oxygen systems, whether it's something we could potentially invest in our own cryogenic system to do our oxygen or not, if it could save us money or not. Something.
Yeah,
potentially
we
look at.
we can look at that. There's a lot of moving parts, as you know, because you deal with gases in your business.
Certifications and all that.
Correct. So we currently use oxygen. Actually doesn't come under this, but oxygen devices, oxygen masks, CPAP equipment, those kind of things.
So it's not the actual cylinders
Right, the
themselves.
cylinders we currently use locally, which we have, I believe, 2 different vendors.
Okay.
And we'll be looking to consolidate those.
Right. Good.
But there is some advantage to the technology you're talking about, doing your own oxygen.
Thank you. I'm glad you're proactive and are already looking
Yep.
into it.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions?
Now, I'll make the motion we approve the purchase of the medical supplies from Boundtree Medical for the Department of Fire and EMS, estimated $350,000 a year.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely good discussion. Chris, do we have any public comment on the phone?
No one on the line.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Burke, do we have public comment?
Mr. President, we have two public comments. The first one is from Stanley Pennington. If you would approach the microphone.
Can I let Mr. McMahon go first?
Sure, Matt McMahon also signed up.
Actually, if the two of you are in the same topic, why don't you have a seat in front? This way. Just go from one to the other.
That's a hot seat.
We make it more comfortable for you, so. Okay. Gentlemen.
Good morning, Commissioners. As the district manager of the Carroll Soil Conservation District, I have the honor and privilege of managing a group of dedicated individuals who consistently go above and beyond their assigned duties in their service to the citizens of Carroll County. In partnership with employees from the Maryland Department of Agriculture and the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, the Carroll Soil Conservation District staff consistently provide our cooperators with service that is unmatched throughout the state. The vital work done by our staff is a key component in assisting our cooperators in maintaining compliance with various programs, as well as providing much-needed cost share assistance to them. The results of our staff's efforts speak for themselves. Carroll Soil Conservation District has consistently been responsible for the highest number of agricultural best management practices installed by any district in the state. These practices allow our cooperators to maintain productivity within their operations while protecting soil and water quality for future generations. Millions of dollars in cost share assistance, grant funding, and other programmatic payments are provided to our cooperators each year, thanks to the hard work of our dedicated staff. Unfortunately, at the present time, the morale among our district staff is at an all-time low, mainly as a result of those employees not being included in the raises recently given to Carroll County employees. Already, when compared to their counterparts in neighboring districts, our employees are paid an average of approximately 40% less, despite outproducing them year after year. When it was announced that Carroll County employees would be receiving raises of 10% and more based on longevity, our staff was cautiously optimistic that their salaries would finally be brought more in line with their colleagues in neighboring counties. When it was determined that employees of allied agencies such as soil conservation were not included, they were greatly disappointed, to say the least. In light of the fact that earlier this month we lost our district technician when she took a higher paying position with another agency, our productivity will no doubt suffer. While we have been given approval to fill that position, it will take time and training before that individual will be able to work independently. Additionally, 3 of my 4 remaining full-time employees are now pondering retirement. While I have tried to encourage them to remain with us a bit longer to help our office meet the final 2025 goals of the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Implementation Plan, their frustration at being excluded from the raises that most of their colleagues received has not helped that cause. Our district is grateful for the numerous times that this Board of Commissioners has shown its support in the past. I look forward to the opportunity of discussing this matter at our next budget presentation, and I, of course, thank you for the opportunity to address you here today.
Okay, appreciate it. Sir?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Stan Pennington, and years ago, we had a district manager that wasn't as supportive as the one we have now. And so it was probably 20 years ago or more, I was elected shop steward, and I still am. And it's not a position that I really like to have. But the reason we were so disappointed on these raises is because what Mr. Weaver talked about earlier, 50% of our job, or just over 50%, if we don't do it, county agencies can't complete their mission. With water resources, with permits, Bureau of Engineering, if Brian Snyder doesn't do the sediment control plans and review them, then their mission isn't completed. So it's mandated by the county that we do that. On the ag side, we work very closely with Ag Land Preservation. Last year, we had to perform 95 farm inspections that are mandated that we must do them. They take 3 to 4 hours per inspection. You know, we have to write and rewrite 60 to 70 plans every year to meet the goals of ag preservation. And then on top of that, we get calls from Water Resources, county roads, anything that's ag-related or remotely ag-related, they try to refer to us. And it saves them time because they don't have to work on it, such as fields eroding through backyards, you know, crazy things like that. We get some real requests. Horse rings and farm buildings, we have to write the sediment control plan, and all those things take 6 to 8 hours apiece by the time you're done handling them. We've even had commissioners come to us and say, I have a friend who can't afford to have their culvert pipe engineered. Can you guys do it? And we do it. And when Tom Devilbiss was the director of the Bureau, he would call us and say, hey, I need some help with this. So well over 55% of our duties are really county government duties. And when you take that into account, and you take into account that we bring in over $10 for every dollar we spend on our salaries and our budgets, it's almost like, it almost seems like a no-brainer that we weren't funded to keep here. And those 3 people you're talking about are we're all eligible for retirement. And I kind of committed to Matt that I'd stick around till 26 to help him get through this rough part. But it's kind of disappointing when you're not fed the same. And when you're asked to do all these duties, it's kind of like when you get a honey-do list from your wife and she sends you out the door without breakfast or a kiss goodbye. You know, that's kind of what it feels like. And that's about all I have to say on the matter.
Okay.
I can cook you breakfast, but I'm not kissing you goodbye.
Okay. Appreciate it. And typically we don't have conversation after public comment, but understanding the why, and we've talked a lot about this. And now it's getting down to the what, you know, and we have to figure out what that's going to look like, and the competing priorities between now and, you know, where we're going to go in the budget. But it doesn't go on deaf ears. I'll tell you that right now. And we've had a lot of conversations about this. It's a challenge. I mean, there's no doubt. It's a challenge for you. It's a challenge for us, and we got to figure out what right looks like. But you know, it's the what. So there are a lot of competing priorities right now that are coming to us in the very same kind of breath that you are. Not saying it's wrong, but this is my view. And we just have to continue to figure this one out. So, are there any comments from the guys?
Not at this time.
Yeah.
Very well said. Your presentation laid everything out that we need to consider, and it does not fall on deaf ears. I will say that. We talked about it, and we will continue.
And, you know, again, if you would like to provide what you read, you know, to us, that also always helps, you know, when you get the numbers in front of us, you know, and the impact. You know, again, I understand the why. Now it's coming up with the what. So, okay.
I want to add, thank you for the tour. It was absolutely lovely. I enjoyed your company and conversation. I enjoyed the enlightenment and education of what your department does. I'm just disappointed that it took me 4 years to really find out and understand your department. And hopefully the next commissioners that come in will take a greater interest in your department and your budgetary needs.
It's the best tour you've had in 4 years.
Yeah, especially when I wind up at Weaver's Farm. Thank you.
We had to end on a high note.
Okay, gentlemen, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other public comments there, Mr. Burke?
Nope, those are the only two.
Anything for open admin?
No.
Well, not asking you, but that's okay. I'm glad there's nothing from you. No, I really, that makes me feel comfortable and confident knowing that there's nothing more from you in open admin, but
Well,
thank you.
Sometimes the county administrator has a folder full of stuff.
I
so
understood.
Not today.
Okay. One comment, the sheriff did reach out to me, as it was shared with us about the crime and the disturbances that are happening in Carroll County. He's able to package it in certain areas of concern, and the jurisdictions are going through the same thing. Sykesville just announced they had a lot of break-ins in this one community, and it's targets of convenience, people having their vehicles unlocked, and they just go from one car to another, open it up and see what's there and grab and go to the next. But the sheriff asked if we would want him to come in and share to us and potential ways we can continue to advocate for the situation and to the community, that he's available to us, and we can put that on the agenda probably in the next couple weeks if that's suitable.
Nice to hear what's
Excellent
going on.
idea.
Okay.
December 7th is a good day for that.
Okay.
Agree.
Wanda, why don't you come on up? Is there anything else, open admin?
I mean, what do you want us to do? Go out there and work security or what? So, I mean.
No, it's not for us. It's for the community. So, I mean, we're privy to things that, we can give him the venue and the stage.
Good morning, Wanda.
Good morning.
Okay, Monday the 17th, MSDE Advisory Council on Health and Physical Education as a hybrid. Commissioner Frazier will be participating. Carroll Community College Foundation Scholarship Reception. Commissioner Frazier and Wentz will be attending at 12:30 that afternoon. 12 on Tuesday. There's a Planning Commission at 9 a.m. Commissioner Wentz will be attending downstairs. A Veterans Advisory Meeting, Commissioner Weaver will be attending that. There's a walk in the park in Leicester Park in Hampstead. Commissioner Boucher will be attending. On Wednesday, the 19th, the Carroll Community College Board of Trustees meeting. Commissioner Wentz will not be attending. Do you want somebody there? Should there be somebody there?
Based on what you're going to announce next, I don't think anybody's available.
No.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Carroll County Food Sunday 40th anniversary. All five of us will be participating or attending that. Emergency Services Advisory Council, the ESAC. Commissioner Wentz will be attending at 7 p.m. that evening. Huh?
No, you won't.
Why not?
Because I'm going to be at the 6 p.m.
You'll be done by 7.
Yeah.
You need a clone.
Dinner,
Okay.
Dinner and a meal? I don't think so.
You leave every one of them early.
Station?
I know. You need to start early, leave early, move on. Get a doggy bag.
Sure. Okay.
Thursday. So make sure you got that, Wanda.
Yes.
Especially about the doggy bag. Open session on Thursday. We'll be talking about purchasing radios, amending Chapter 34, our ethics ordinance. The ESAC documents will be presented.
EAC.
EAC, I apologize, thank you. Environmental Advisory Council. I was wondering, why is Chris Hine mentioning ESAC? And it'll be led by Mr. Hine. Rural Legacy Program Option and Purchase. The Rudolph and Nancy Haney property. Adoption of changes to Chapter 155. Rezoning Case 226, which is the Max Suite property. Rezoning Case 227, which is the MJY Investments properties, FY23. CIP budget transfer request for the Carroll County Public Schools. And then the FY23 CIP budget adjustment once the transfer took place to the Carroll County Public Schools. That afternoon, we go back into open session, consideration of the bond sale award resolution. At 3 p.m., there's at the community college, the CDL program ribbon cutting, where Commissioner Boucher, Wance, Weaver, and I will be attending. And then at 6:30 p.m., the Royal Hospital School Children's Concert at the First Presbyterian Church in Westminster, where Commissioner Frazier will be attending. Is that the, like, are they coming from Norway? Where are they coming from? They're coming from somewhere.
I don't know. I got the invitation.
Yeah, they're coming from like Norway or Sweden. That's pretty cool.
If they came all this way, I'd go listen to them.
I'm glad you're attending. Friday morning, 9 a.m., BMC, Board of Directors, will be virtual. Commissioner Wance will be participating on Saturday. Pretty excited about this. The Major General Linda Singh Readiness Center down in Sykesville, ribbon cutting. I will be participating in that on
If it's all right with the Colonel, could I attend that with you as well?
It's not up to me.
All right.
I mean,
Well,
it's up
thank
to you.
Yeah, I'll attend in support since I'll be in my future district.
On Sunday, October 23rd, Commissioner Boucher has the podcast. Monday, 24th and 25th, and 26th, nothing is scheduled. Thursday, October 27th, we have approval for the following, the MALF applications. The James and Jennifer Dieter, the Francis Swift and Susan Lynch property, the Karen Syrian property, the Philip and Rita Bassler property, the Maynard Tiart and Teresa Tiart property, and the Mark and Julie Fisher property up in Westminster. And there's more. The Jonathan and Jessica Collins, the Three Russells LLC property in Manchester, Robert Huff's property, and then Cynthia Jeanette property also in Westminster. We will then have talking about Menesis graphics upgrade from DPW, the Saturday Services pilot program update from Mr. Boki and DPW, the request to approve Trailblazer route changes from DPW, approving the CTS safety plan update, the Hoods Mill Road well drilling and testing services project, the engineering evaluation and condition assessments of the Shiloh pumping station, purchase of various water meter parts for the walkout court water meter vault project. Really looking forward to that. The installation of residential water meter vaults on Walkabout Court. The 2022 hot mix asphalt paving program. The refuel. What is that? Something going on at Charles Carroll Community Center. Ruling Associates? Is that? I don't know. There'll be, I don't know if that's a change order. I don't know what that is. If we can find out, that would be a good thing. At 1:30, there's a proclamation at the hospital boardroom for presentation of Stroke Smart Carroll County, and 4 of us will be attending, Commissioner Frazier, Wance, Weaver, and I. Okay. On Friday, 28th, nothing scheduled. On Saturday, 29th, Big Country Breakfast fundraiser at the Carroll County Career and Tech Center. Commissioner Boucher will be attending, and I have the podcast. Is there anything that I may have missed for the agendas.
If I may, before we wrap up, I just want to give a last plug for the Walk in the Park on the 18th, Tuesday at 2 o'clock at Leicester Park. It is a Halloween theme. People will be dressing up. They have a story trail. Children will be there, walk your dogs. And also, I've been informed that the Carroll County Times will send a photographer there to capture it and help us promote the public awareness initiative. So if you're available that day, come on out and show support for LifeBridge Partnership for a Healthier Carroll County. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to be going into recess and then go into closed and then open back up this afternoon for the transportation.
Is that downstairs in the Reagan room?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes. So I need a motion
Make
to
a-
do all that. How do we want to say
Make a
it?
motion to go and close for land acquisition.
Second.
I got a motion and a second go into close for land acquisition. All in favor?
Aye.
That's all we need to do? Or do we keep going?
I was going to say, make a motion to recess after closed until, where's the time on here?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. 2 p.m.
We're 1400 if you're, you know.
Yeah, well,
Somewhat of a,
I'll second it if you change it to 1400.
1400,
I got a motion, got a second. Any discussion?
as long as it's not zero dark.
Mr. Burke, you have any comment on that?
No.
Okay, glad to hear it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are closed to go into
Land acquisition.
close for land acquisition.